Hello, lovely people. Seems a bit heavy of a post for a Monday, but if you feel inspired to talk about something, then you got to follow that feeling. And today I feel called to talk to you about affairs because other than helping people reconnect with their identity, feeling whole again and expanding from surviving to thriving, my other passion is helping couples because I love the idea of a family unit in a society where we've become so individualized and so focused on individual growth and gain. I am now also very passionate about helping couples reconnect with themselves so that they can create safety at home and create a safe haven. Not just now, I've been doing it for nearly 10 years, but I do a lot of work with affairs, and unfortunately, affairs are so much more common than what we'd like to admit. I think we all know somebody, whether we've been affected by it directly or we know of somebody that's been affected by it or who has been in it, is quite the norm. And because of today's technology and access to technology, as Esther Perel says, it's the first time in history that we can actually cheat on somebody while lying next to them because of the use of our phones. I work with a lot of people that are connecting with their other partners through WhatsApp and so forth. And the reason for my post today is not to be all doom and gloom, but because I realize there's a lot of you that have been affected by this. I wanted to just share a few insights and thoughts. And the first thing that I want you to be aware of is the fact that it's okay to not know what to do right now. The first stage after discovering an affair is the crisis stage. It is a crisis you're in. Everything you thought you knew has been shook, has been challenged, has been altered. You're starting to question not only where are you guys going, but where you were. When you were there, were they there? Did they say those things? Did they mean those things? So everything feels so upside down and turbulent, and it's very, very, very natural to feel completely lost and overwhelmed. And they often describe it similar to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, because there's hypervigilance, there's constant being alert, checking, seeing flashbacks, panic attacks, not being able to sleep, not being able to eat, or oversleeping, overeating, all these symptoms of extreme trauma. So be kind to yourself and look after yourself if you're in there. The second stage of after discovering an affair is where you would try and make meaning of what's going on. And just like when there's been a flood or a tornado or something's ripped through your house, you have to get the storm to pass before you can really judge the damage, before you can tell where to start rebuilding. You can't, in the middle of the storm, decide here is where I'm going to start rebuilding, or it's too damaged, we can't rebuild. You need to give it space and time for the dust to settle before you can make such decisions. The best analogy that I can think of that my couples have appreciated when they have been affected by an affair is the analogy of having a rock thrown into a flat water surface. So there where the water and the rock meet, it forms huge waves, and it's one after the other, one after the other. And that impact is the same for me as understanding what's going on when you've just found out the news and you're feeling so overwhelmed, and it's one thing after the other after the other. It's this huge upheaval of feelings. And at the beginning, it just feels like you're not getting any spaces and you just can't breathe. It's one thing after the other. Sorry, that's my kids need to be fetched at school reminder. So it's just these one things after the other that happen. But eventually, with time, those waves become smaller and smaller and further apart, which means there's going to be gaps where you're going to have space to breathe. And in those spaces to breathe, I highly recommend taking them. What a lot of people do is that they're so scared of feeling okay that it's going to mean to their partner, everything is okay. So they'd rather just stay angry, whereas you need those spaces just to breathe, to recalibrate, to rest. And also to know that if you start feeling like things are okay and then you have an uphill again, that's also normal. It's not that, okay, once it's starting to go smooth, that everything's fine now. It means that there's more work to be done. And it is a long process because there's so much that needs to be reworked. And those waves that come later and later, they're smaller, even though it can feel so exhausting. It's because you're so tired from all the paddling you did with the first few waves that those waves feel exhausting, but they're not bigger. You're not going backwards, they're going forwards. But do get yourself support, do get yourself comfort, a safe space. Don't make any permanent decisions in that crisis, but be able to create a space for you where you feel that you can breathe, that you can calm down, so that you can assess the damage and see what you want to do from there while you're feeling in a safe zone. I also have many recommendations. I've written a book about it at the beginning of the year, but one of the things I do also want to add is not to tell too many people about the affair, because while you're angry and while you're shocked and telling all these people, it just means those are more relationships you need to repair at some stage, should you and your partner, as impossible as it seems now, but should you two decide to work on it again, those are relationships that you'd need to repair. Because unfortunately, it's almost like a pendulum. We've gone from the one extreme, from shaming people that want to leave a marriage because of an affair. Now we're shaming people that don't leave a marriage for wanting, to save their marriage after an affair. And we need to find that middle ground. And you need to be able to do that without the influence of outside people and their opinions on your decision, because only you know what you two have committed. I'm so sorry. And how capable you two are, and the history that you two have. So that makes it very difficult for other people to have an influence that you can really trust. And if you seek out a therapist or a counselor or a coach, please make sure it's somebody that works with couples, because navigating these waters of an affair are so tricky. I do have a free PDF. If anybody's interested, you're welcome to PM me, DM me, email me, and I'll send it to you. It's just about some of the things to keep in mind of how normal it is. What you're going through is not to feel overwhelmed, because I know that in that overwhelm you can feel like, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Is this okay? Is that not okay? And this just gives you a little bit of support and guidance. Thank you for listening. And if you're going through this, or if you know somebody going through this, be kind to yourself. It's a really, really tough space. And if you know somebody going through this, just support them without judgment. Just help them to feel safe. Have a beautiful day. Cheers. Eventually, I'm going to figure out how to